A distress call that shook the skies. Mayday! Mayday! This is the flight leader calling the control tower. Something's wrong with the compass. Nothing makes sense. We've lost control. We can't maneuver the aircraft. Something isn't right. There's something out here. That was the final, haunting transmission received by the U.S. control tower from Flight 19 on December 5, 1945. Moments later, all contact was lost. Flight 19, a squadron of 5 military aircraft, vanished without a trace while on a routine training mission over the Bermuda Triangle. But the mystery didn't end there. When the U.S. Navy dispatched rescue planes to search for them, something even stranger happened. Welcome in the Curious Corner. In today's episode, we're diving into one of the biggest mysteries of the modern world. Why do things vanish in the Bermuda Triangle? But before we begin, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. Now, let's talk about the Bermuda Triangle, a vast stretch of the Atlantic Ocean, bordered by Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico. Since it's defined by these 3 points, it was aptly named the Triangle. And with Bermuda being one of the key locations, the name Bermuda Triangle stuck. But here's the mind-blowing part: the size of this triangle is absolutely massive, covering a staggering 1,125,000 square kilometers. To put that into perspective, that's gigantic. The Bermuda Triangle gained its eerie reputation thanks to countless articles, books, and research papers that painted it as a danger zone, a place where ships and planes mysteriously vanish without a trace. According to the stories, anything that crosses this region, whether sailing the seas or soaring through the skies, simply disappears. No wreckage, no distress signals, just gone. One of the most chilling examples, January 1918. The USS Cyclops, a massive naval vessel, set sail on what should have been a routine journey to port. The trip was supposed to take just 3 days, but the ship never arrived. And what happened next remains one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. Days turned into weeks, and the port authorities kept waiting for the USS Cyclops to arrive, but it never did. Now, more than 100 years later, we're still waiting. The ship vanished without a trace, no distress call, no debris, nothing. It was as if the ocean had simply swallowed it whole. Even the President of the United States at the time could only say, "Only God and the sea know where the Cyclops has gone." And that was just the beginning. From that moment on, the Bermuda Triangle became a graveyard for ships, planes, even submarines. One by one, they disappeared, leaving behind only questions. As the mystery deepened, newspapers and researchers couldn't ignore it any longer. The world became obsessed with these vanishing vessels, and the legend of the Bermuda Triangle was born. But let's be honest, things started getting a little out of hand. The media ran wild with the Bermuda Triangle mystery, cranking up the drama to sensational levels. Leading the charge, none other than the Associated Press and a magazine called Fate, which specialized in bizarre events and unexplained phenomena. Then came Richard Weiner, who fueled the fire with his book, The Devil's Triangle. Not long after, Vincent Gaddis jumped in with his own take on the mystery. But the real game changer, Charles Berlitz. His book took the Bermuda Triangle legend to new heights, making it a global obsession. Soon, the media and the public weren't just talking about missing ships and planes, they were convinced that supernatural forces were at play. The Bermuda Triangle was no longer just a mystery. It had become a legend. As the legend of the Bermuda Triangle grew, so did the wild explanations for what was happening there. One theory claimed that deep beneath the ocean lay the ruins of the lost city of Atlantis. And what we were witnessing was the curse of Atlantis striking down anyone who dared to pass over it. Another group insisted that the Bermuda Triangle was home to Satan's throne, and that anyone who ventured too close would be engulfed in flames, a warning to mankind. Then came the alien believers. They were convinced that extraterrestrials were abducting ships and planes, snatching people away for experiments in a place beyond human reach. And if that wasn't enough, another theory suggested that the Bermuda Triangle was actually a time vortex, where anything that entered was transported to a completely different era, lost forever in time. Of course, the scientific community dismissed all these theories as nothing more than science fiction. But if supernatural forces aren't to blame, then what is? What real explanations exist for the countless disappearances? Why do so many ships and planes vanish in this mysterious part of the ocean? As the myth spiraled out of control, a group of determined researchers decided to tackle the Bermuda Triangle enigma with cold, hard science. Their first breakthrough: methane hydrates. Scientists discovered enormous amounts of methane gas seeping from the ocean floor, especially concentrated in the Bermuda Triangle. Experiments revealed that when methane bubbles burst to the surface, they create a phenomenon called foamy water. This bubbly mixture drastically reduces the water's density, making it impossible for ships to stay afloat, swallowing them whole without warning. Adding to the intrigue, Norwegian scientists found a massive crater 500 meters wide on the seafloor, formed by a methane explosion. These eruptions are so powerful, they could even shoot massive gas plumes into the sky, potentially disrupting aircraft and causing sudden turbulence or engine failure. And that's not all. The second theory revolves around tropical storms. The Bermuda Triangle is notorious for these fierce tempest storms so violent, they can toss massive ships around like toys. Imagine being caught in a sudden, raging storm with waves towering above, swallowing vessels in seconds. Lastly, some researchers suspect that the region might have magnetic anomalies, strange fluctuations that interfere with navigational instruments, sending ships and planes disastrously off course. So, while legends of Atlantis and alien abductions make for thrilling tales, the real explanations: deadly methane bursts, violent storms, and magnetic disturbances are no less terrifying. With all these scientific explanations, methane bursts, violent storms, and magnetic anomalies, it's clear that the Bermuda Triangle is a dangerous place for navigation. But does that mean it's truly cursed? Not so fast. American researcher Lawrence David Cush, author of the Bermuda Triangle Mysteries, solved and covered a shocking truth, one that had nothing to do with supernatural forces. He pointed the finger at something far more powerful: the media. Cush dug deep into the stories surrounding the Bermuda Triangle and started noticing major contradictions in the reported incidents. As he examined case after case, he realized that many of the so-called mysteries had been sensationalized, exaggerated, or even completely fabricated by authors and journalists hungry for attention. The truth: many of the disappearances were either misreported or had perfectly logical explanations that were ignored in favor of a more exciting story. The Bermuda Triangle wasn't just a mystery of the ocean, it was a product of media hype. Take, for example, the case of Donald Crowhurst, a sailor who vanished without a trace during a solo yacht race. At first glance, it sounded like another Bermuda Triangle disappearance. The media and authors jumped on the story, weaving it into the legend. Another victim of the triangle, they claimed. But there was one major problem: Crowhurst wasn't anywhere near the Bermuda Triangle. In reality, evidence showed that he had been struggling with severe psychological distress during the race. His logbook suggested he faked his progress, and when the pressure became too much, he likely took his own life at sea. Yet, instead of reporting the real story, the media twisted it to fit the Bermuda Triangle myth. And Crowhurst wasn't the only case like this. Many stories of mysterious disappearances in the Triangle turned out to be nothing more than media-fueled fiction. One of the most bizarre stories came when a tanker ship carrying oil mysteriously vanished in the Pacific Ocean. But, of course, the media couldn't resist. They blamed the Bermuda Triangle for its disappearance, despite the fact that the Bermuda Triangle is located in the Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific. But that wasn't the weirdest part. Whenever a ship disappeared or sank in the Bermuda Triangle, the media would always claim that the sea was calm, no storms, and no waves, just a serene, peaceful ocean. And here's where it gets even stranger. The calm sea and mysterious sinking were often used as proof that aliens were involved. If the sea was so peaceful, the thinking went, then it could only mean one thing: extraterrestrials. So, when in doubt, blamed aliens. David Cush and his team, armed with historical records, teamed up with weather experts and Coast Guard officials to investigate the true conditions on the days when these ships disappeared. What they uncovered was something far more ordinary and far less mysterious than the media had portrayed. On those same days, the weather was brutal, and the ocean was in a state of violent turmoil. Far from being calm and serene, the sea was actually wildly stormy, with conditions that could easily explain why ships sank. There was no need for aliens, ghosts, or supernatural forces, just nature at its most dangerous. But the media, hungry for a more dramatic story, twisted the facts and turned these tragic disappearances into otherworldly events. Take the tale of the SS Vogue, another one that was twisted into a science fiction story. According to the media, the ship vanished without a trace, only to reappear later with all its crew members gone except for the captain, who was found seated at his desk, perfectly relaxed, holding a warm cup of coffee. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi thriller, right? But here's the real story. The SS Vogue sank due to a fuel tank explosion, a tragic accident, not a supernatural mystery. The Coast Guard later released photos of the wreckage and recovery operations, showing the remains of the crew being pulled from the ship. There was no captain calmly sipping coffee, no mysterious disappearances, just a tragic accident. Yet the media, hungry for drama, embellished the story, adding their own fictional spin to make it fit the Bermuda Triangle legend. Here's where things get even more intriguing. According to the U.S. Coast Guard and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration (NOAA), the disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle are no different from those that happen in any other part of the ocean. When they looked at the official statistics, they found that the number of ships and planes that went missing in the Bermuda Triangle was no higher than the number lost in any other major body of water around the world. In other words, the Bermuda Triangle wasn't any more dangerous than any other stretch of ocean. So what's going on? Why the constant media frenzy around it? It's simple. Media, books, and movies created a dramatic narrative that turned an ordinary phenomenon into a legendary mystery. And here's the kicker, they did it on purpose. The media and entertainment industries deliberately shone a spotlight on the Bermuda Triangle to turn it into a sensational story. Because let's face it, that's what sells. Did you know there's another terrifying place on Earth that rivals the Bermuda Triangle in mystery? It's called Monoyumi, or the Sea of the Devil, located in the Pacific Ocean near Miyake Island in Japan, just about 100 kilometers from Tokyo. This area has earned a fearsome reputation for disappearances. In fact, when they ranked the most mysterious disappearances in history, 6 out of the top 10 took place right there in the Sea of the Devil. One of the most chilling cases involved a US C-97 aircraft that was en route to Tokyo Airport. The plane, carrying 67 high-ranking military personnel, passed through the region and vanished without a trace. Now that's a mystery that might just rival the Bermuda Triangle's fame. Even though the conditions were ideal for flying, the US C-97 plane disappeared just 2 hours from Tokyo, leaving no trace behind, adding yet another chilling chapter to the Sea of the Devil's dark history. But the mystery doesn't stop there. In 1987, the Philippine ship Carlotta was passing through the Sea of the Devil when something bizarre happened. The ship suddenly caught fire, even though it wasn't carrying any flammable materials. The crew fought desperately to put out the flames at the front of the ship. But then, the fire spread to the back, spreading with no clear cause. At a loss and thinking they were doomed, the crew eventually gave up, resigning themselves to their fate. But in an unexpected twist, the fire extinguished on its own without anyone touching it. The Carlotta managed to make it safely back to the Philippines, where it still sits in port today. The cause of that mysterious fire remains one of the Sea of the Devil's greatest unsolved enigmas. The Japanese government, determined to uncover the truth behind the Sea of the Devil, sent 100 scientists on a specially equipped ship to investigate, but the ship disappeared and never returned. This eerie region has natural disasters and weather conditions that are 100 times worse than those of the Bermuda Triangle. The incidents that occur there are truly terrifying, and yet most people don't even know about it. Why? Because the Sea of the Devil never got the same kind of media attention, legends, or mystical storytelling that the Bermuda Triangle has enjoyed. In the end, it all comes down to marketing. The more you can sell the story, the bigger it becomes. The Bermuda Triangle got its share of fame, while the Sea of the Devil remains a dark, unexplored mystery. In the end, there's a saying that sums it up perfectly. The Bermuda Triangle is just an ordinary region of the ocean with a dose of bad luck. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle was manufactured by writers and authors. Whether they meant to create a myth or not, most of them relied on incorrect evidence, just to add some excitement to their books, articles, and films. The principle was simple: the more dramatic and mysterious the details, the more sales they would get. Imagine if I made a video, slapped a picture of a devil on the thumbnail, and titled it "The Bermuda Triangle Secret Finally Revealed." Do you think it would get more views than a simple, fact-based story? Exactly, it's all about the hype. The Bermuda Triangle is nothing more than a region with unpredictable weather conditions. What happens there is largely logical when you break it down. If we look back at the story that played a huge role in spreading the Bermuda Triangle legend, you'll see just how easily myths can be built from real events. The truth behind it is more about nature's unpredictability and how media and storytelling have magnified the mystery for dramatic effect. But when you strip away the sensationalism, you're left with a place where weather, geography, and bad luck lead to real-life disappearances. Take the famous incident with the exploding plane from the Flight 19 story. It was later discovered that the Martin Mariner aircraft had a faulty fuel tank, which was a logical explanation for the explosion. What many people don't realize is that dozens of ships and planes pass through the Bermuda Triangle every day without incident. The Bermuda Triangle is often perceived as a mysterious, unexplored area. But the reality is that it's just a flat stretch of ocean with no hidden islands or secret traps. Ships and planes navigate it every day, and the mysterious accidents only happen when something goes wrong unexpectedly. The Triangle's eerie reputation has more to do with the stories told after the fact, making ordinary events seem extraordinary. In the end, the Bermuda Triangle is simply a region with unpredictable weather conditions that can threaten the lives of those passing through. So, we've answered the question, why do things disappear in the Bermuda Triangle? It's all about the environmental factors, not supernatural forces. And, as always, if you have a burning question keeping you up at night, leave it in the comments below, and we'll answer it in future episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit like, share, and for those watching us for the first time, subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be the first to get our latest videos. See you in the next episode.